Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries, a weekly podcast spotlighting the people and stories behind your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. I'm your host, Christina Denstead. Today, you'll hear from Gaby Dalkin, the New York Times bestselling author, chef, entrepreneur, and creator of What's Gaby Cooking. Gaby's been the go-to expert for all things California cooking and effortless entertaining for over a decade. And now she's bringing her culinary magic to the Westlake Village with the opening of her very first restaurant, Gobbies, in the neighborly food hall. We dive into her journey from blogger to cookbook author to opening her first restaurant and the lessons she's learned along the way. If you enjoy this episode and find value in the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and rating. This helps more folks in the Conejo Valley community find the podcast, and each story can reach more people. So grab a snack, sit back, and let's get into it. Hey, Gaby. Thank you for joining me today on Conejo Valley Visionaries. How are you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm great. I am so thrilled to have you on the podcast. I've been a longtime fan of What's Gaby Cooking, and then was so excited when I saw you share on social media in December that you were opening your first restaurant concept in the Conejo Valley, and beyond thrilled to actually have you on to hear about the inspiration behind it. We could not be more excited to have you locally out here in the Conejo Valley.
I'm very excited to be there. I feel like it's full circle. I went to culinary school in Westlake, so to open up a restaurant out there feels like very, full circle for me, 360.
Perfect. Cool. Okay. Well, I cannot wait to hear more about that. What we like to do here on the podcast is go back to the beginning and just get an understanding of when you were a kid, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up, and what did you study in school?
Sure. So I thought I wanted to be a number of things before I actually went to college. But when I went to college, I went for pre-med. And I was pre-med for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 semesters. And then I got to OChem and I got an F. And I was a straight A student. And I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I remember I come from a family of doctors. I remember calling my dad and being like, hey, will you still love me if I don't become a doctor? Kind of just like jokingly. And he was like, I kind of thought this day was coming. Like, yes, of course, like, whatever. So I dropped out of pre-med and I moved over to business, and I finished up my college and got a degree in business with an emphasis in marketing.
Okay.
And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I just liked it. Like, I loved all the group projects. I loved being like the leader. I really enjoyed the creative thinking that came with it and all my different business, classes. Um, and then after college, I graduated. I went into the workforce. This was back in 2008. And then the entire economy crashed, however many months later that was. And I didn't love the job I had, but it was my first job out of college. So I did it. And then as the economy crashed and the company I was with folded, I was like, rather than go out and get another job right now, I think I should go to culinary school. Growing up, I loved watching TV. I loved watching Food Network. I liked watching people cook. I don't come from a family that my mom doesn't love to cook. She's an eat to live kind of girl. I am a live to eat kind of girl.
Okay.
So I decided, if I'm gonna learn how to cook, it would be fun just to know how to cook for my friends and my family. I cooked all through college for my tennis team. One thing, chicken parmesan. So I was like, maybe I should diversify. So I went to culinary school, and then I subsequently went to pastry school and kind of haven't left the food world ever since.
Wow. Okay. So that is quite a journey. And so did you grow up in California down here, or where were you?
No, I grew up in Arizona. I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in Arizona in Tucson. I
Okay.
moved up to the Bay Area for college,
Got it.
and I went to school called St. Mary's over in Moraga. And then my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he's older than me. He moved to LA after college, and I followed him down here.
Got it. Okay. And this move, so you were also an athlete, like a student athlete, sounds like. And did that have the food inspiration? I mean, if you're cooking for people, you had this innate desire. Was it about actually cooking or treating people? I know entertaining is a big part of kind of your brand and your ethos.
I love feeding people. I think food is the number one connector of all of us. Everyone has to eat. And there's so much richness from culture and different parts of food just is such an incredible vehicle to bring everyone together. So in college, I like cooking for my tennis team, the men's and the women's team, because it was a really beautiful way to bring, these 20 people together before a big match. and to get everyone together and to get to know each other and have these conversations. The tennis team was from all over the world. We had girls from Australia and Tahiti and France and men from Spain and all. Like, it was such a cool melting pot to bring everyone together and cook for them. So I really like thrived with that kind of energy as like the connector. And so when I went to culinary school, it was to learn how to cook better and to know I never had. My mom doesn't eat steak. She doesn't cook fish, so, like, I never knew how to make any of that. So I wanted to learn and get educated there.
Right.
But now the act of feeding people and bringing people together and nourishing their bodies is really important to me, and it's a definite through line for all things What's Gaby Cooking and Gobbies related.
Okay, so community obviously a big part. And so you were living down in LA and you decided to go to culinary school. You mentioned at the beginning that that was out here in Westlake. So tell me, how did you find this culinary school?
I actually have no recollection how I found the culinary school. It's no longer there. It was called Westlake Culinary Institute, and it was in this really cute little shopping center. Um, the exit before you go to Gobbies, like
Yes.
closer to LA, it was off of that on the
Ladero?
others. It's off of Lindera on the other side of the freeway, and it's this cute little culinary store where you could go. It was basically like a small little Sur La Table or something.
Yeah.
And in the back, they had a culinary school, and you could get the exact same degree you would at a Cordon Bleu or a CIA or something like that. But it wasn't full time. So I went to culinary school there. I drove out to Westlake every Monday. It was like a 7-hour class. I would get home at midnight, and it was 6 months of culinary and then 6 months of pastry. I dropped out of pastry halfway through, but whatever. Um, but it was an incredible experience to get to learn like knife skills and how to cook fish and debone and all these things that I never really knew how to do because I was just winging it.
Yeah. And so when you were in culinary school, were you thinking that you would turn it into a career after that? Or, you're learning the
No,
basics?
no, it was truly just for fun for me. It was for me to learn how to cook for my friends and family. I started What's Gaby Cooking, which was just a plain old blog back in the day as a way to document my time in culinary school. And I worked as a private chef for a family in Malibu at the same time I was in school. And I remember on the first day they were like, "Can you make us halibut?" And I'm like, "That we haven't done fish yet. I do fish in 2 weeks. Can we do
Sure, right.
chicken?" I'm not I was totally faking it till I made it. Um, but I had no intention of turning What's Gaby Cooking into a career. It was really just a fun thing to do for a year while I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go as far as
Okay.
the workforce was.
And if you were so you were thinking maybe you would stay in the marketing field somehow?
I thought so, and then, I
Okay.
mean, what ended up happening was I still am in the marketing field, like, what's Gaby co like, I get to use all of my business
Yeah.
savvy from college and everything I've learned, and pair that with being in the food world, which is really kinda special and cool.
So I love hearing, I think we're around the same kind of like generation. And like, I love hearing people now talk about, I started a blog. And that was like actually a big thing to do. Like, it wasn't popular to do it, but like to take that step and start a blog. And now it's turned into this. Like, how did you know how to do that?
I honestly one of my godmother, my godmother is my parents' best friends from college, and she had a blog, and it was called The Italian Dish. I don't even know if it exists anymore, I should text her,
Yeah.
but she had once upon a time sent me the Pioneer Woman's website, and Ree is now a very good friend of mine, but at the time, I went so deep into Ree's blog, reading about her love story with her husband and how she wrote, and it was so beautiful and, like, very off the cuff, and it felt like I was talking to her. I just thought it was so cool that she had this forum to tell her story very casually.
Mhm.
So I was like, this is cool. I'm going to start a blog too. And like, I'm not going to write about my love story because I'm not a good writer like she is, but I write very stream of consciousness like I would talk to you. And that would be fun to hear about my journey through culinary school and being a private chef and, just me learning about the food world. And slowly, I was in culinary school, doing the blog and private chefing all at the exact same time. They literally all started within a week of each other.
Wow.
Um, and I just kind of slow rolled it, and I didn't make any money on What's Gaby Cooking for a very long time, and then I remember my first deal came along, and it was like $200, and I was like, "This is awesome." I've made it. And my mom and dad were like, "Uh-huh, sure, cool." So, I just did it. I did all of them and I was making money as being a private chef. I was learning everything I needed to learn in culinary school. And then slowly, What's Gaby Cooking started to pick up more speed and I got more brand deals. And when that got to be more lucrative than private chefing is when I walked away from private chefing.
Got it. And were you enjoying private chefing or was the
I
real
loved private chef.
Okay.
I was so lucky though. Like I have many friends who have done it and they've had crappy clients.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about private chefing. You're in someone's home. You're in their kitchen. It's the heart of the home. You see everything. You're a part of their families. I had the best clients. So I had a great time. I ate with my clients. I went to the parties with my clients. Like we had a lot of fun. Um, I know many stories that did not have that same tone to them, but I really enjoyed it. I lucked out.
Yeah. So to manage all of those 3 things at a time, and we'll get into, like, all of the various business streams you have now, were there any keys to, like, organizing it all? People who are listening to this are not only locals, but also maybe people who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. Like, what was was there a trick in terms of keeping things prioritized and organized?
I'm a list maker, so I function off of a to-do list mostly, but for the 3 things at once, culinary school was always Mondays, so I didn't work on Mondays, I just was in school, and then private chefing took the bulk of my day the rest of the week, and then What's Gaby Cooking was really like a nights and a weekend thing, like, it was very much a side hustle until it wasn't. So I just worked all the time, and I feel like that's probably very common to hear from someone who's trying to figure out how to make their side hustle into a lucrative business. Um, you just work all the time, but it was really great preparation for owning my own company because I also still work all the
Yeah, no,
time.
I know. I think that's the idea, right? Is that you're just working for yourself now, but
Yep.
you're still
And
working all the time.
if you work for yourself, you work 80 hours a week instead of 40 or whatever it is. There's no turning off. Even when you're on vacation, you're on. So it was great preparation for that. And I feel very fortunate that, my trajectory has led me to where I am.
Okay. So you had the blog and then you decide to start writing cookbooks. Is that the next step?
So I was writing. Can you hear my son in the background?
Yes, but it's okay.
Sorry.
No,
Is
no.
it okay?
Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
he's just getting a bottle, I think. I was doing What's Gaby Cooking, and for a very long time, wanted to write cookbooks, and nobody would take me on as a client, like as literary agent. And I was like, now I know why. I had 2 followers. Like I was not. I was small potatoes, and writing a cookbook is a big deal. Like it's a big investment that someone's making into you, and so I hustled, and I was in New York, and I was taking meetings and all these different things, and I finally got approached to do a cookbook, and because I was so young and naive, I took it, and I really shouldn't have. Like, my first book is not my pride and joy. It was an incredible learning experience, but I didn't know to ask for creative control of what it looked like and all these different things that I ended up learning. But whatever, I did the book, I published it, I lost money on it because my advance was so small and I had to pay for my photographer and my groceries and my recipe testing and some semblance of a book tour. But I learned so much. And because the book was so small and I was so small, it didn't do that well. And it took me, let's see, that book came out in 2013. My next book didn't come out until 2018. So there was a literary agent who I really wanted who wouldn't rep me. She said no to me originally. And in 2016 or 2017, after my little avocado book had been out for a couple of years, she called me and she's like, "I've been watching you and I think you're ready." And I was like,
Mm.
"Holy shit."
Wow.
Um, and she was like, "Send me a proposal for your next book." And I wrote this proposal and she ripped me to shreds. And that's the thing about writing books, though, is it's such an educational process. Like if someone's like, "This is beautiful," and doesn't have edits, like they're the wrong person for you. You need someone who's gonna really help guide you.
And, like,
Um,
invest the time to give you that feedback is probably means a lot, actually.
yeah, because if you don't, then you're gonna publish a subpar book, and then it probably won't sell. So I'm thrilled that I had someone who was, not tearing me down is the wrong words, but like she was really telling it to me straight. And she was
Mhm.
like, "This is a shitty proposal. We need to hire someone to help you format this. We need to shoot photos for it. We need to just invest a little bit of money into it and I'll get you a better deal." And she did. Um, and I've done 4 books since then, 2018, 2020, 22, and yeah, 2024. Yeah.
That's amazing, and 2 of them are New York Times bestsellers.
Yes, my most recent too, which is very exciting.
Yeah, congratulations. That's incredible, and, you mentioned you were writing stream of conscious, your blog, and learning how to cook at the same time. How did you feel like you were what did you feel like you could bring to a cookbook?
So, my first cookbook, the avocado cookbook, I learned so much on that process. Like I said, I learned how to format a recipe. I learned how to write concise directions because nothing's worse than a wordier recipe. Like, I don't need you to tell me that make sure if you're not using a pan with a lid, just say you need a pan. You don't need a pan. Like, you just got to condense.
Mhm.
So, I learned a lot. And so after that first book experience, my website got in my traffic started
Mm.
to go up because people were like my recipes were resonating with them. And then my subsequent books benefited from that because I knew how to format everything. By the time I turned it in, it was already in such a great place.
Yeah.
There certainly were edits, but I wasn't green, like I wasn't starting from nothing.
And I know your most recent book is about grilling, and you mentioned your mom didn't make steak or wasn't doing that when she was young. Did she learn from your cookbooks now too, or she
I
allows you to do
mean,
it?
she lets me do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think I've taught my mom cooks a couple things really well, and so does my dad, but it's not their, like, number 1 focus. So when I'm around, I do all the cooking, and they are so supportive of me, it's incredible. I feel so blessed. I have the best parents, but, I don't know if I've taught her that much. I don't know if she
Okay.
cares.
Got it.
She cares to support me, but I don't think
Yeah,
she's
well,
like,
that
"I'm gonna make
matters.
hummus just like Gaby makes her hummus."
No, she's like, "We'll just sit back and enjoy it."
Mhm.
So, was opening a restaurant always part of the plan, or how did
No.
Gobbies come to be?
No, so I worked in a restaurant growing up. I was a hostess, and it actually scared the shit out of me
Mhm.
because it's so much work. So, opening my own restaurant was never something I wanted to do on my own. It was like, I don't know if I could handle that. I would have to give up other portions of my business in order to be there all the time. So when I met the guys from Dom Food Group, all the partners there, I was like, oh my God, these guys are impressive and incredible and good people. And we had talked around a couple different ideas for maybe 2 or 3 years until we landed on Gobbies and Neighborly and everything that exists today in Westlake. Um, and I can't imagine doing this any other way. Like, I feel so lucky to be working with them. They're like pioneers in their industry. They all have different expertise, and it's a really well-oiled machine. It's a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of.
So 3 years, I mean, it sounds like that was it kind of just like a think tank, like an ideation brainstorm, or how does that happen? I'm
So
curious.
I originally wanted to make a baby food line, and we talked to them about doing CPG product in a baby food line, and they were like, "This isn't it." And then as I did more and more research on baby food, I was like, "Yeah, that ain't it. That's terrifying. I don't want to be like they're too. That's scary
The
to me."
liability of it all?
Yeah, and the technology of how I would like to do a baby food line, quite honestly doesn't exist. Like, you puree like the crap out of all this food and you lose all these nutrients, or you have to do it it wasn't in the cards for us, at least not right now.
Yeah,
But that's how we originally were introduced to them for CPG.
got it.
So we just stayed in touch, and Donald called me, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, and we went out for coffee, and he was like, "Would you ever want to do something like this?" And I was like, "With you guys? Yes. With someone else? Probably not." Um, and that's how Gobbies was born, and it was the most incredibly collaborative process to come up with the recipes and the menu and to learn about all the other collaborators that are there. Is very cool.
Yeah, and for those maybe who are listening who haven't been to Neighborly yet, it's a curated food hall in Westlake Village in the Promenade that really brings, like, all these unique brands, restaurants together in a space that allows you to try maybe restaurants from the West Side or from LA, but also in your case, a brand new concept. So, how did you guys come up with Gobbies?
Well, I think the guys at Dom have all my cookbooks and they did such incredible research on me and my voice and the type of food that I like to cook and that resonates with my audience that they saw through social media when they were like, "We think you need to own salad, sandwiches, and bowls." I was like, "Yeah, duh. Like, of course I do. Like, that's what I eat. Like, those are my people." Um, so that's kind of how we came up with the pillars of Gobbies, and we're gonna expand and add some other offerings in there that we're really excited about, but those were where we wanted to start. So, we did so many taste testings and back and it was like the text message chains back and forth were hysterical. We're like, "What about this and this and this?" And like it was a great collaborative experience to recipe test and get the menu to where it is today.
And so I mean, it's true. The like bowls, sandwiches, salads, those are, you've probably done the research already that your community loves that and that like it's going to be a good sort of market research of the complete market. Like that's what people want to eat and feel healthy. Were the recipes coming directly from your books or were they new for?
I think many of them were inspired by my books, but
Okay,
no, none of the recipes are direct from my cookbook.
got it. And do you have a favorite item on the menu?
I mean, I literally just finished putting down Thomas's crispy chicken wrap, and, like, I know it's number 1 of the top performers, and I hate to say it because it has my husband's name on it, and I'm like, "I can't give you the glory, I need" I'm like,
Yeah, right.
"No,"
Like, why did we name it that?
but but I try and make it out there at least twice a week, and this week I've had 2 of them, and they're fantastic, so I love everything equally. The Parisian is incredible. I love all the bowls. I love it all. I don't even like a tuna sandwich, and there's a tuna sandwich on my menu that is so superb. I eat it, and that's wild because most tuna sandwiches just aren't that good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the salads, I think that there's an interesting market as somebody who likes a bowl or salad where you really can't find that in a very like frequently in a fast casual setting that feels fresh and delicious and like maybe a little bit elevated for lack of a better word. That's like a different taste combination. So you've definitely accomplished that there.
Thank you. And they've done an incredible job sourcing the best ingredients. So it's
Mm,
like the salmon is always going to be incredible in that salmon bowl. And that I feel like you go get salmon or trout at many other fast casual restaurants and you're like, this is fishy. And it's never going to be like that at Gobbies.
yeah. Did you have a hand in the branding of it or the look and feel of, I guess, your portion of the food hall?
Yeah. I was like, not inside of Neighborly. They did such an incredible,
Yeah,
they didn't
it's
need me
beautiful.
for that. It's stunning. I walked in there, I was like, this millwork is
I
fancy.
know, it's
It's
gorgeous.
so beautiful. But yes, for Gobbies, we use my name is on the it's my name and it's the same font that's on my website and all my cookbooks. So un- Unfortunately for whoever works for us, my husband and I and my best friend Matt, who's also my photographer, who also shot all of Neighborly, we all are so creative and opinionated. We basically, we have a lot of input.
Sure. Well, well done, and yes, the food photography is really beautiful too, and that's your photographer you've worked with on your various cookbooks, is that right?
So yeah, so Matt and Adam are 2 integral parts of the What's Gaby Cooking team. Matt is a photographer, his husband Adam is a food stylist, and we've worked together. We've known each other since 2010. We've worked together exclusively since 2014. They've shot all of my books. They shoot everything from my website. And when Neighborly was in development, I introduced them to can't remember who I introduced him to, if it was Mario or Donald or Kelly or someone. I think it was Kelly. And I was like, you guys have to just take a meeting with them. I don't know if you're going to hire them to do everything, but they should absolutely shoot Gobbies. They know my point of view so well. And it was such a great match for everyone. They ended up shooting all of the menus, which was really cool because there's some continuity in terms of taste level, I think, throughout the whole menu, which is cool.
Right, it does feel, like, very specific, but in a beautiful way, and feels fresh for being out here in the Conejo
Yeah.
Valley as well. With, what has been, like, one of the most surprising things about creating a restaurant concept?
Oh gosh, surprise! I mean, I don't know. I don't It's just been such a pleasurable experience because
Mm.
this team is so amazing. Like I love them. I'm obsessed with all of them. I just think they're so good at what they're doing. Um I think maybe one of the most surprising thing is how often we chat and collaborate and come up with ideas and marketing ideas, and we're in constant communication, which is how I like to do business. So that was a pleasant surprise to me.
Would you imagine ever opening like a full service restaurant on your own, or do you think this is
Just
really
a
an int
Gobbies?
yes, or is
I
this like
mean,
a good niche?
listen, I would if Dom wants to continue doing this together, sure, why not? I would
Yeah.
happily do that.
Yeah. I know, it's so funny when I met Mario when they had the opening event and one of the first things he mentioned was your avocado book. So even if it was not your, favorite book that you put out there, it's interesting how these things sort of all, can ladder up and maybe make a impression on somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not proud of the avocado book. It's just not my like. All my other books are so me. That one is less me, just in terms of design and the size of it. All that, the
Okay.
nitty gritty.
Now, also in Neighborly, there's a great little like shop and shop section. And I know some of your products are available for purchase. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like your foray into CPG?
Sure. So, a long time ago, maybe in 2018, 2017, I knew I wanted to have tangible What's Gaby Cooking products. So I cold called many of the large retailers and I was like, hey, my name's Gaby. I want to do a product line. They all knew who I was. And many of them were like, sure, let's do it. And I had a product line. It ended up being like 20 to 30 SKUs for a number of years, and then I pulled it and brought it all in-house because it was an incredible experience, but I realized I could have more control if I was doing it on my own. I could have control in the customer service and the look and the feel and all these different things. So that's how Dalkin& and Co. was born, which is what sold at Neighborly. Dalkin& and Co. right now is 6 seasonings and a salt, and we just launched a salt right at holidays, and then they come in we have, like, gift boxes and little cute samplers and all that stuff, so, it's expanding this year in 2025, which is very exciting, but when Neighborly was developing their little shoppy shop, they asked if they could carry Dalkin& and Co., and I was like, "Yes, of course, that's such a great," it means so much, it's so cohesive, and they picked it up, and it's been doing really well, and it's cool to see everyone buying it there even when they're not coming in to buy food, they just come in to, like, grab something from the freezer and some salt and some Dalkin& and Co., and it's very fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's makes a great hostess gift, but also something that you would be using in your own cooking. I know I've heard you in some of your recipes, like that's you can substitute
And
that
it's
type of
in some of
seasoning.
the recipes at Gobbies, like the taco seasonings and the taco bowl, so people get to try it knowingly or unknowingly
Before you get
before
into
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we sort of talked about this at the beginning a little bit. It sounds like you have a lot of projects going on. Not only are you an entrepreneur, a restaurant owner now, a mother, an author, all of these things, you also are actively very involved right now in philanthropy in terms of what's going on with the LA fires. How do you manage it all now? How are there any tips? Do you have a morning routine? Do you have something that kind of keeps your head straight? You have 2 young kids. What is your secret?
I mean, I think what keeps my head straight is that I work out every day. It's like a
Okay.
non-negotiable. And I turn off as much as possible during that hour so I can focus on myself. But but sadly, no, I don't have any great tips on staying organized. I think I'm a little bit of a psychopath. I work all the time. But I thrive like, right now with the fires, we've been doing these firefighter breakfast burrito drops all over town, and we're delivering thousands of burritos. I thrive when I'm busy. When I'm not busy, I'm certainly not as productive, so adding that into the fold with running Gobbies and doing What's Gaby Cooking and working on the next book and Dalkin& and Co. and all these other things that are happening, it just makes me dial in how I focus the rest of the day.
I see.
So I don't really have time to goof off.
Sure, that makes sense. And it seems like your community is probably stronger than ever. I know you've been clearing wish lists and all of this. I mean, it's amazing to see how quickly they sort of activate when you need them. And have you also seen that within Gobbies, the restaurant?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. Our community that we built for What's Gaby Cooking is the best, period, end of story. Like, they're so supportive and amazing, and I don't know why that is. Like, I think I'm pretty open about myself and my like, we were really open about our fertility struggle, and I think that's incredibly relatable for so many people. People like seeing the family, they love seeing Thomas and Poppy and Finn, but I'm very open and honest, and I you get what you get. Like, whether you're watching me on Insta Live, you're meeting me at a book tour, you're meeting me at Gobbies, or you're just reading me on my website, I am who I am. I don't have time or the skills to be someone else. Um, so I think that has helped develop the community. And so when we launched, I kept Gobbies under wraps for a very long time. I only announced it 2 weeks before we opened the restaurant. Um, they were amazing. Everybody went. It also helped we opened right around the holidays, so everyone was home and or could drive in for everyone in Southern California area at least. And they were pumped. It felt really good to hear everyone be so excited about this new venture.
That's awesome. What are you most proud of overall in your career?
Oh, what am I most proud of in my career? I think the way we do business and the relationships we make for sure would be one side of the coin. I think the brands and the companies that we work with really enjoy working with us. I think we're fun to work with and we're really hard workers. I think the other part I'm really proud of is how incredible the What's Gaby cooking community is, and how supportive they are of each other. And, like I said at the top of this, food brings people together. And I think that's like a very notable part of What's Gaby Cooking.
Totally. What do you think's been the biggest challenge?
Oh gosh, great question. Um, I'm an I'm really good. Well, no. What's the greatest challenge of What's Gaby Cooking and everything under the Gobbies umbrella? Um, Delegating.
Mm,
I'm really bad at it, and I struggle to let anyone do anything because I just can do it faster. And as our business has expanded, I have had to relinquish control because I just can't do it all anymore. And that's really hard.
I can imagine, and it's got literally your name on it. So there's
Yes.
probably some connection to that. And I've heard on other podcasts you have a small team, or I mean, it's a small team that you're working with, right? So you really
Yes.
are doing a lot of it on your own, and you can feel that on your Instagram too, that it is really you.
Oh, yeah, that's me responding to everyone on
Yeah,
Instagram. I would never give that up. I work with my husband, Thomas. He's like a 50-50 partner in everything we do. He is much better at managing people than I am. So he takes the reins when we hire someone to help with SEO or anything like that. He's just better at that than I am. I'm more creative and I like being in the meetings and on calls and all that kind of stuff. So,
right.
um, he's helped me with some of the delegating.
That's great. I will just mention one of the comments I received when I shared that you're going to be on the podcast was a woman on, I think it was Monday, went into Gobbies and she got to meet you. And she said sort of exactly what you were saying, is that you just seemed exactly like you are on social media and were so kind. And she had a great experience. And I think it means a lot to this community. I think what I've learned in interviewing different people through that have businesses in the Conejo Valley, that it really is about the community. They don't want, it's small, it's kind of insular in a good way. And like, if you don't have that connection with people here, I don't think your business does well. And so it's amazing that you're doing that, because I think it connects you to what are, we sort of, we're a suburb of LA. We're not LA. And to like have you actually be coming out here frequently and making connections, I think that's like such a huge thing for just growing the like longevity of neighborly and of Gobbies. So that's incredible that you're doing that.
Thank you. Honestly, it's the highlight of my job is when I get to do, when I pop into Neighborly and meet people that know me or go on book tour or do a dinner party series, meeting everyone that has supported us in What's Gaby Cooking uh, it's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
they're my favorite people to meet. I've become friends with many of them. I've traveled with many of them through some of our experiential events. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's your vision for What's Gobby Cooking?
Oh my gosh. Well, I honestly feel like sky's kind of the limit, especially in the digital space. Like, who knows what the world's going to look like? I mean, listen, we lost TikTok last week. So, like,
True.
quite
A
literally,
brief 24
who
hours.
knows what the world's going to look like in a couple years. But I think for Gobby and like, I look at everything under the Gobby umbrella, and Gobbies is part of that. I would love to expand that to blanket way more of Southern California and then expand outside of that. I would love to continue to write cookbooks. Dalkin and Co. is going to keep growing to be a really, substantial pantry line.
Mm,
And then to keep What's Gaby Cooking, this hub for all these incredible recipes and experiences and dinner parties and brand collaborations. So it just becomes this really beautiful, sunny California place no matter where you live to access all these different things.
I love that. So, no stopping is what I hear. Only growing,
No,
which is great.
no, I don't sleep. I mean, listen, I have 2 kids now. I really don't sleep. So like I've got I just can't stop.
That's impressive. Okay, I have 3 rapid fire questions. First one, which I imagine is challenging, is what do you have a favorite recipe as of this moment from your cookbooks or from What's Gaby Cooking?
My chicken parmesan meatballs are my favorite recipe of all times.
Oh, okay, and that harkens back to your tennis days too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, with chicken parmesan is what I made at tennis, and
Yes,
these are basically meatballs with all the same ingredients, but in meatball form. So yes, it goes way back to when I was 17 years old and cooking for everyone in college.
I love it. Do you have a favorite thing that you do in the Conejo Valley when you come out here, outside of visiting Gobbies?
Well, that's my number one, but my
Yeah.
second, my best friend lives in Calabasas, so we are there all the time visiting them, and her daughter is 3.5 years older than my daughter, and just watching the two of them play is very fun. We do Holiday Road every year, so I feel like I'm a Calabasas adjacent local.
There you go, I love that. Awesome. Okay, and lastly, Gabi, what is one piece of advice you would offer to a first-time entrepreneur?
Ooh, never be afraid to ask for what you want, and if someone says no, find someone who says yes.
Boom. Love it. This has been incredible. Thank you for coming on, for taking time out of your incredible schedule to share your story. And we are, I can speak for Conejo Valley right now. We are thrilled for having like Gobbies for your first restaurant in the Westlake Village area. And I know that we're all here to support, and we're really excited by it. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. I hope I see all the listeners there. I'm there like once or twice a week, usually during the week.
Okay, incredible. Well, thank you so much, and best of luck with everything that you've got coming out this year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Make sure to subscribe to Conejo Valley Visionaries wherever you listen to podcasts so that you never miss an episode. And follow us at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us a DM. We are always open to guest nominations. This episode was produced by Christina Denstead and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J. Sloan Productions.